Rod Stewart, Maggie May. Love this song. So, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. It's 46! Wow! 46 degrees, totally rainy all day, blows. It's like after 2 o'clock, it's 2:20. I'm gonna head down to Silver Lake. It's traditional Saturday stuff. See what they're doing down there, maybe do some shopping, banking, the usual. I got my ECS order in a few minutes before I left actually. It has that seat trim in it, and the seat rails and the buttons and some oil, which I'll talk about in a minute after the intro. So a few months ago, I think, I'm not totally sure on the specifics of this, so if anybody knows, let me know. So is it BMW that's no longer recommending Castrol? I'm talking the S62 here. It's 10W60 fully synthetic Castrol Edge TWS engine oil. That's what my car has always had, what I have always used, and what I would plan to continue using. So I think it's BMW no longer recommending Castrol, but then I heard that Castrol was going to stop making it, so BMW is now recommending Shell oil. So I'm not sure the specifics of what's what with that. But Turner Motorsport no longer sells the TWS Castrol. They sell the Shell twin power turbo 1060 and 530, depending on what you want to use and what engine. So ECS still has the 1060 TWS. It's a slightly different bottle. It's the same one that Hassan uses in Los Angeles at O'Reilly's. They sell Castrol Edge TWS 10W60. It just looks a little different. So I bought 3 of them. That'll get me through the year, definitely with the M5. I had finished up in the spring. I bought 10 liters, and I did a 7-liter change, and I've topped it up with 3 liters over the season. So that puts my consumption of around 1,000 miles a liter, which isn't bad. Not great, but not horrible. So I guess I'm going to use this now, but is it the same? I think it's the same. Does it matter? Probably not, but it's interesting that it is still available through ECS for now. So I don't know if that will change or what that means, but it's there. Hey, so busy day. I'm sorry I didn't have any clips between like 7 hours ago and now. Got to my grandparents' house just as my aunt had showed up and took my grandmother out clothes shopping. So they were gone for like 3-4 hours. During that time we did some grocery shopping, fixed some crap around the house, little stuff like that. Got a pizza for dinner, ate that with them, came back here around 7:30. Kenan came over then, and we got to work on the car. The ECS order arrived with the seat trim today. So we started on that. We did the driver's side and almost finished it. Yeah, so it's interesting because this is the piece of trim I'm replacing that dresses the side of the seat and covers up the switches and stuff. So it started off pretty well. We just popped off the switch that controls the backrest. We popped off the switch that controls the bottom rest. And the lumbar, any DIY I had read or watched online in a video format, they were on BMW E39s that didn't have lumbar support. They just had the dummy plug in there. So I had to figure that out, and then this switch, that was easy, that just pushes out. So we got it off. There's a screw in the front, there's a screw over here, there's 3 pop rivets that hold this thing in. Came off fairly easily. Then we had to figure out how to get this off. There's a channel in the back that it slides down into, like straight down. That can't work though, because the button is not flush, it sticks out. You can feel it sticking out. So we actually had to bend the plastic and push it out from behind, which feels like you're gonna break it, but it didn't break. The plastic was strong enough. So we got the new piece in, it's nice and tight now, it's quiet, you're never gonna hear any noise, and it feels totally different too. There's that fresh BMW plastic, you know, it just feels totally different than the old stuff. So that's brand new. I just transported over the lumbar switch and the thigh extension switch. There's nothing wrong with those at all, they feel great. New seat rails, we have this piece of trim's new. If I were to put the seat back, the rails up here are new, on that side are new, and what you see sticking out the back of the car is new. Also cleaned out under the seat, vacuumed it, cleaned off the metal rails, so that's nice and clean. So the switches are not back on. I don't want to reuse the original, they're just dirty and they're really cheap parts, so I bought the new ones, but the pegs sticking out here are round. The pegs sticking out, or the peg receptors on the switches on the new ones that I bought are square. I took the switches off that side and they're square. So why is the driver's seat round? Turns out the memory seat function is, I guess I'm thinking this, the settings for the memory seats are stored in the driver's module. So it's a different module that has different pegs and different switch covers. So I got to go on Real OEM, find the right switch covers, had to order those. It's gonna be like 10 days out. So I'm gonna have no buttons there for 10 days, but the seat's in memory. So I just set it where I want it and it should remember that and I won't have to adjust it. Even if I do, I just grab the peg and move it where I want it and it moves that way. So it doesn't look pretty for 10 days here, no big deal. So then the seat rail kit that I bought, I found that there's like 10 different part numbers that make up the seat rail kit. I plugged that in ECS and it shows me, oh, we just put it all together in a kit, all the seat rails for your car. So I thought, great, I'll order one kit and that'll be it, $20-something. Well, it turns out it's only for half the car. It's only for one seat. So I need another kit. That's 6 days out plus shipping time too. So a week, 10 days, I'll have that. But I'm also gonna replace this one since it came in a kit. On the black interior cars, they're actually black ABS plastic. So if you hit it with your shoe, you scuff it up, you scratch it, it's still black. On the gray and tan interior cars, I think they were black, then painted either gray or tan. So that's when they look really bad and they have all these black scratches in them. So I'm glad I do have black interior. Being an M5, they didn't do gray or tan. They did caramel on it. It was probably painted too. But we're gonna have to do this side the exact same thing. I am gonna film a DIY on it. Now I know how to do it in a lot less time, so the DIY will be more comprehensive. We'll just have to include the different part numbers for the driver's seat versus the passenger seat. Because over here, they're just pegs with like black, it's totally circular, smooth black. It almost feels like a wiretap butt connector type thing. But over there, they've got the round plastic, corrugated plastic things on it. But it'll be done, it'll be really nice. I'm gonna do the rails over here as well, clean up under the seat, do the ones in the back, and then it'll be great. And this whole project really is not expensive. They're just cheap plastic parts that fit very well. Mine had a broken clip right here where the screw is, you've got to recline the backrest all the way back to get to the Torx 30. So sorry for kind of a technical explanation of that. But it's gonna be good when it's done. We'll get a DIY up. And you know, we're in the pioneering phase here. Nobody's freaking done this. That's why I started E39 Source 5 years ago, to create the content that I wanted that didn't exist. And it's been fairly popular. We've got 20-some thousand subscribers. So obviously there's a demand for it. And there was no supply until I started it. Now tons of people do it. There's big supply now. But I do like to think we have a very comprehensive library of content. We're only expanding to that. So that is E39 Source. What else? Kenan stayed until about 1:30. He left. It's after 1:30 now. I'm gonna go up and take a shower. I don't know my plan for tomorrow yet. I'm totally split 50-50 up in the air. Might be taking a road trip quite a ways east from here to take a look at an engine. As you guys know, this car has 190 on it. The last couple thousand miles, I start to hear there's a lot of Vanos clatter. That's pretty normal, but if I let that go long enough, I would have to do a Vanos rebuild on it. This is gonna turn into a long clip, I'm sorry. The lifter job would be a couple $1,000s. If they're gonna have the engine apart, then it makes sense to do rod bearings, it makes sense to do main bearings, it makes sense to do the Vanos and the lifter rebuild, and it makes sense to do the timing chain, guide, and tensioner rebuild. At that point, I might as well do a full entire rebuild, do piston rings, do head gaskets, do everything that is wearable. I've gotten quotes on that. It's approaching the $20,000 mark. I've talked to people who are very, very informed on this car. Adam Klemster from M5 Board. Rebuilds have a low success rate and a very high cost. That's a bad formula. A new engine from BMW is $25,000. I don't like that option either. That'll have the same common failing points of Vanos and taking lifters, which isn't really a big deal. I talked to Adam on the phone for 30 minutes on Thursday about it. His car ticks too. It's just normal. You go out and you drive them hard and oil circulates and they get warm and they don't tick. Well, mine still does, so they're collapsed and they should be rebuilt. It doesn't affect performance yet. This car pulls like a train. It feels amazing driving it. Cold idle sounds awesome. When it's warm, tons of Vanos noise. You hear the lifter noise. I don't know about rod knock or anything like that yet, but you know, it's gonna need service if I want to keep this car long term, and I do. So Adam's suggesting the way to go would be to buy a lower mileage S62. The one I'm looking at's at 120. He doesn't recommend buying anything less than about 100. They just haven't been driven, they haven't been used. Those engines have a ton of issues. So I don't want to do that. 120, that's 70,000 miles less than what I have right now. That's 7 years of totally daily driving, which I don't even do. So I'm looking at about a 14-year savings in terms of mileage of how I drive the car these days. Then with that engine, well, it's out before it would go in the car, I would go through and do timing chain refresh, timing chains, guides, tensioners, do rod and main bearings, valve cover gaskets, oil pan gaskets, camshaft position sensors, throttle position sensors, spark plugs, coolant, power steering flush, spark plugs, thermostat, all of that stuff while the engine's out, and then it would have fresh gaskets and go in. He's saying I do that, it's about half or less the cost of a rebuild or a new engine, can be done quicker, would be more reliable, much higher rate of success, and would buy me another 100, 150,000 miles. The only original components would be piston rings and head gaskets. Head gaskets are not a common point of failure, neither are piston rings and lack of compression. I'd like to do a leak down test on this engine if possible and see how many PSI per cylinder we got. I think stock's 101. Am I totally pulling that out of my ass? I don't know. But I think that is what I'm gonna look into. So it's gonna be a project, but it's gonna be amazing when it's done. It's gonna buy a lot of life in the car. And my question is, if they've got the whole lower end of the engine apart to the point where they've got the crankshaft out to do rod and main bearings, are they gonna be able to just pull the cylinder, pull the piston out of the block and put new rings on it? How does that work? Is there other stuff in the way? I don't know. Sounds like if they've got the crankshaft out and the piston's disconnected from the crankshaft, you should just be able to grab the piston rod and yank the cylinder out. I don't know what else would hold it in there. Then you could put rings on it. So I don't know. I'll have to look into that. The rings themselves aren't expensive, and the labor, if you've already got the piston out, wouldn't be very much. And that would just buy whole new compression. It's crazy, but that's what happens when you have a 15-year-old car with 190,800 miles on it. But that's what I'm thinking. So anyways, in question for tomorrow, do I drive to Baltimore 5 hours each way to go see Adam, see the shop, take a look at the car that this engine's coming from? It's a later build, mid-2002, that had rear end damage, so it's being parted, nothing in the front end. Looked at the Carfax on it, 122,000 miles, looks like it's been well cared for. The rest of the car looked like it was in good shape. So that's kind of where I stand right now with that. I don't know if I'm gonna go tomorrow or not. I need to talk to Larrick here in Hudson, get like paper quotes out for doing the rods and all the work I talked about, and extracting my engine and installing the new. When I have those quotes, then the quote from Adam from the engine and the shipping to Ohio or a pickup option, I don't know yet, then I'll be able to look at some numbers and make a decision and get a time frame going. So tomorrow might be a road vlog in the 330 on the Turnpike and the 70 in Baltimore. Or I might stay here, wait until I get those quotes from Larrick, and then go next weekend. Because I want to see the car it's coming from. I want to see if this car's been, you know, aside from the accident, maintained and is clean. I want to hear the engine, I want to see the engine, stuff like that. So I don't know, totally up in the air on that for tomorrow still. I gotta make a decision. It's already 1:30 in the morning. I would be leaving in about 8 hours if I do go. But the 330 only has like a quarter of a tank of gas in it. I would want to take some oil with me just in case. It's on snow tires. That's not great to go take a snow tire car on a road trip, so I don't know. Anyways, my arm's tired. I'm sorry for a freaking 11-minute clip. I do apologize for that. I'm gonna head up and take a shower and get to bed, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning, either from the road or early tomorrow afternoon, doing nothing around the house. So, I don't know. Here's all the old parts I had today. Fun stuff. All right, BMW life. Talk tomorrow. Good night.